Go, man. We're starting officially. Turn my volume up. All right. So welcome back, folks. I was having some and I know many of you probably experienced something similar, but I was having some weather related issues last week. Power went off and stayed off. Okay. But I'm back in the land of the living now. Turkeys haven't been back. I think the little ones have grown up because they grew really fast. So I think they're doing their thing, man. They're doing their thing. Now there's a skunk family, which I'm not too. I mean, the little ones are cute, but I don't want to get too close. Definitely don't want to let my dog get too close. Yeah, you was right. Okay. The little ones though, they're really cute, man. Oh, they make you want to pick them up, but then you remember they're skunks. All right. Okay. There's a wild kingdom over here. Okay. That's what I was most worried about when my power went out, like my pets. Yeah, till they spray you, man. I was more worried about my dog getting sprayed because she's one of those spoiled inside dogs, so she's not cool with sleeping outside. All right. So yeah, folks, we're back. All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. And we still have time left in the semester, but we are winding down. You guys being yeah, tomato juice and peroxide, absolutely. All right. You guys are our 12-week section, so we're gonna be wrapping up pretty soon, which means okay, we got two main hurdles to cross before we get out of here. One, we got to get this common essay wrapped up, and I'm gonna say a little bit about that tonight. But draft number 2 was returned last week, right? I was able to use someone's internet, but I had to be out of there at a certain time, so it was just all bad, man. It made me realize how much I rely on the internet for stuff. All right, which is, I guess, a good and a bad thing. Okay, yes, draft 1 has been returned, and now draft number 2. All right, let's get that in Thursday. Okay, draft number 2 is due Thursday, and with your well, before I get into the drafts, I want to talk a little bit about this final assessment. All right, there's nothing to be alarmed about. Actually, we're going to do a practice final next week. Emphasis on the word practice, and it's really just kind of to give you a preview of what's going to be happening when you get the real thing. So the final assessment, normally in face-to-face sessions, it's a 2-day process. One day is a reading, and the following class will be a writing. But since we've been remote, I've just been posting it and just giving students a few days to take care of it. And it's an article. And then the second day, or what would be the second day, you get an essay prompt. All right. And really, the goal is for you to tie the article you're going to get and Born a Crime together, like put them in the same discussion. One may even say compare them, meaning like point out the similarities between these two pieces of literature. All right. And like I said, we'll do a practice next week. But then we'll get the real thing going. So we have 2 more drafts of the common essay, and then we have the final assessment, and then we're out of here. Okay, we're out of here, man. Fall registration. Okay, I saw my classes; they're active, so I think you guys can register now if you want to. And my advice to you is, and I give this advice to any English 1060 student, but try to take English 1510 right after this class, whether you take it with me or someone else. And it's I think I said this before, but like the skills are fresh. All right, the skills are fresh, and you're still in that reading writing mindset. And then the second thing with that, if you've been here, you already know this, but if you're new to OCC, as soon as you are able to register, register. Why? Because the classes you want, like at the times you want them, you may not be the only one who wants it at that time. So try to get yourself registered as early as possible so you get the schedule that works for you. All right, you don't want to be like having 3 classes on a Saturday afternoon. All right, and I taught Saturday afternoons before, and it ain't fun. It ain't fun at all. All right, but yeah, folks. Okay. Also, register anyway, even before you find out, how you're gonna do a portfolio review. Worst case scenario, let's say things do not turn out your way for whatever reason in this class. Worst case scenario, you'll be pulled from the class. But sometimes students will wait until they hear what's going to happen with this class, and by the time they do that, the classes they want are full. So, in short, try to register as soon as you can. Okay, try to register as soon as you can. All right. Now, on the other business, I should say. Okay, let me go into my screen share here. Okay. Now, first things, I want to go in reverse because I did this yesterday morning and I didn't get a chance to get everything in. So I'm gonna start at the end first. Class 201. Okay. Now, all right. If you go into the week 10 module, okay, you'll see a couple things. You won't see all this because it's set to invisible right now. But in the week 10 module, you have the common essay assignment folder. All right. And if you click on that, all right, you get another self-assessment. Okay. And the reason for we did one with our instructor chosen essay and we're doing one now. Um, again, it's just helping you connect, with your paper, or really helping you, take ownership of that revision process, because I've given you a draft back, I've put my feedback on there. I've given you some commentary, but when it's all said and done, we want your work to be like the best reflection of you. And we want you, to take yourself through that revision process. All right. Also, remember to keep in mind that revision, I think especially with these essays that aren't personal narratives, all right, they're like I keep saying, they're a little bit more akin to the essays that you'll be writing in English 1510. Um, but just be mindful that revision is more than fixing. Okay. So don't just look at everything that there's a comment next to, or that there's a highlight next to. Of course, we want you to look at those. I want you to look at those things and change them as you see fit. But I think it's more important for you to go through your own paper and realize what you want to change. All right. And I think one thing that we all have in common, with our papers, well, not all of us, but most of us have in common, is we need to go to 4 pages, for our next draft. So the thought process should be, okay, what are some additional examples of this idea that I have in my thesis statement? Whether you're talking about tough love, whether you're talking about Patricia's unorthodox parenting style, whether you're talking about the life lessons, that she taught Trevor, whatever you're discussing or whatever that thesis statement has locked you into, try to think of, and like if you're at 3 pages, you probably only need 1 or 2 more examples to take you to 4. Okay. So I think that should be, yep, 4 pages, 4 full pages. All right. Like don't go to 3.5 and say, I got 4. It says page 4 at the top. All right. 4 full pages. And really just to be safe, maybe a line or 2 on page 5. All right, just to be safe. Okay. But I think from the drafts that I read in this section, most of us are moving in the right direction. All right. And again, it really just it starts from that thesis statement. All right. So in the drafts that I read, I read the thesis statement first, and then I went back and read the rest of the essay. But the thesis statement is just a good indicator of um the organization of an essay, I should say, because the thesis statement is going to keep you anchored. Yes. Okay, Mr. Kurtz. All right. First thing, make sure draft number 2 is 4 pages. Okay, now, like I said, most of you were at 3 pages. Some of you were at 4 pages. Some of you at 5 pages. All right, if you're at 5 pages, all right, pump the brakes a little bit. All right. But we'll also talk about how to, maybe we can scale it back a little bit if we're at 5 pages and still have more to say. Okay, we can bring it back home a little bit. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. So revision, right? Self-assessment. Okay. And this one's slightly different from the one you did for your instructor chosen essay. And this one has a little bit more detail, and you're going to have to write just a little bit more on this one. But all right, start with your intro. Does it have an attention grabber? And if it does, put it there. Okay. What is your attention grabber? How are you grabbing your reader's attention? Do you have a quote? Do you have a relatable statement? All right. Um, do you have some interesting statement, some startling statement? Don't just like the first word in your essay should not be Patricia. Okay. Like don't start talking about Patricia until you have really, mentioned the title and author, of the text, and given some kind of a brief synopsis, of the text. And when I say brief, I mean like 2-3 lines. That's it. Like if someone was to ask you, hey, what's Born, I see you're reading Born to Crime, what's it about? Okay. And if you were just to give them the broad strokes, all right. But does your essay start with an attention grabber? If so, is it? Okay. Some of you need to make sure you do this in draft number 2, but did you mention the title and the author of the book in your introduction? And um, did you put the entire title the first time? Okay. Remember, folks, when you write the title the first time, put the whole thing. Okay. Born a Crime, Stories from a South African Childhood. All right. So make sure you put that in there as well in your intro. All right. And then what I was saying about synopsis, right? Did you provide some background? Okay. You don't have to summarize the whole book in your intro. You don't have to tell your reader every little detail, but again, maybe just 2 or 3 lines, the broad strokes of the book. You don't have to go, no intricate details needed for this. You can just say, it's the story of a woman or a single woman raising her biracial child in apartheid South Africa. Okay. You don't have to say much more than that in your introduction. All right. You don't need to say much more than that. Some there was too much detail in the intro, and I noted that on the paper. And then others there was not enough detail. Like you went the first line and then right into the thesis statement. And the goal of your introduction is to build up to your thesis statement. So many introductions will start off kind of general, and then they'll get more specific as they go. All right, let me see if I can. Of course not. Of course, it's not on my documents there. Overall, do we all have great? Man, Josh, great. Okay, these are words that these are subjective words, man. I prefer the word effective. Like there's effective, and then there's needs work, man. But great. Okay. All right. All right. For the most part, though, the ones I'm concerned about are the ones that did not have a thesis statement. All right. Oh, here we go. Blast from the past. Okay. Let me show you what I meant by intro. All right. But if you need help with your thesis statement, I was saying before that, before you started your draft or before you, um, got too far into your draft, you can run your thesis statement by me, if you wanted to. All right. But, if you're still trying to come up with a thesis statement, or if I noted on your paper, like, hey, you need a thesis statement. All right. One, you can use, any of the examples we discussed, just make it your own. You can use these ideas, but if you need some guidance, just remember that a thesis statement is a topic. Okay. And the topic of our paper is what? Patricia's love for Trevor. Okay, Patricia's love for Trevor, that is our topic, but you also need to say something about the topic. What about Patricia's love for Trevor? Okay, or we can take it out of the context of Born a Crime, and okay, here's our topic. All right, and then here's a claim about our topic. All right, and then we put it together. And we can nice it up a little bit. All right. Okay. So here's your topic. Boom. Now, what are you going to say about your topic? Make a claim. Okay. And then we put it all together, right? And that gives us a thesis statement. So now, let's go back here. Trevor's mother, Patricia, often used tough love to teach Trevor valuable life lessons. She sure did. She sure did. Okay. That wasn't a mulberry tree. And so on and so forth. So once you get your thesis statement, and since we still have another page to put together, right? Think about the additional examples you can use for your paper. All right, and that's what these bullet points represent. And one of the issues that some of the papers had was there weren't enough like concrete examples. That's why I have shoplifting incident. But when I discuss that in my paper, I'm going to flesh that out with detail. Same thing with the foofy incident, same thing with the tree incident. All right, and so on and so forth. So try to make each paragraph, or try to discuss an example in each paragraph. And if you need two paragraphs to discuss an example because you really want to get into the details of it, that's fine. But don't combine. Remember paragraph unity, is what I'm saying. Okay. All right. And you can use this thesis statement. All right. Or at least you can use the idea. But now, okay, let me go back to what I was saying. I'll come back to it. Okay. Now, a couple things we want to avoid. All right. And if you had any of these issues in your thesis statement, make sure you revise that for your next draft. First thing, again, like I said before, if you're using the phrase many ways, like Patricia showed her love for Trevor in many ways, if you're using that in your thesis statement, don't. Okay. What do you mean by many ways? Because that's what your reader's thinking, like right off the top. If you say Patricia showed her love for Trevor in many ways, What ways? Okay, what ways? It's the same thing. Oh man, this is the same too. What does that mean? Okay, first off, right? We're avoiding many ways, definitely. Okay, but I'm also starting to see this more different. All right, different from what? You can't just drop that on your reader without because different, it assumes a comparison, but you have to give your reader some idea from you have to give your reader some idea of what you're comparing it to. So when you say something is different, different from what? Okay, so don't assume your reader knows what you mean when you say like, oh, her style of parenting was just different. Okay, now, all right, now instead of different, we're saying unorthodox. Okay, meaning it's outside of the norm. Okay, but she always showed Trevor he was loved. So now, what did I just tell my reader this paper is going to be about? How Patricia used her unorthodox parenting styles to show Trevor he was loved. So now, when you're writing your paper, this is the invisible fence you have to stay in. Okay, and a few papers, all right, in this section and my other section. Okay, the focus was you don't have to go too deeply into Patricia's background. All right, you don't have to. Patricia was strong, definitely. All right, she was well. That's yeah. She's religious, definitely. All that's true. Okay, she's defiant, right, going against the system. All that's true. But if you're going to mention that, be sure that you mention it in the context of her showing her love to Trevor. Like a lot of times I will read, or a lot of times I've read papers where there would be a paragraph just focusing on how religious Patricia was. Okay, now that's factual, but right, what does that have to do with what you're being asked to do? Meaning discuss how Patricia shows her love for Trevor. Okay, and I'm not saying that you can't include Patricia's religious ideologies, but make sure you're making that connection to, right, her showing her love for Trevor. It's the same thing with her being strong or her being whatever. Don't focus as much on that. And these are worthy ideas. That's not what I'm saying at all, that that's not important, but we have to keep in mind for this essay what we've been asked to do. All right, and we've been asked to discuss, right, how Patricia shows her love for Trevor. Okay, and you can make papers, about Patricia being strong, discussing her background and all that. But that's not this paper, right? That's not what we're being asked to do. So if your paper is kind of Patricia heavy, or you have paragraphs that don't mention Trevor at all, or don't mention her showing her love for Trevor at all, try to revise those to include, well, how does this translate into her showing her love for Trevor? All right. Even with the religious thing, maybe she wanted to instill, some, like a moral compass, into Trevor. Now, discussing her religion in that context is fine, but don't just say, oh, she was religious and she loved church and this and that. Because that's really, it's not relevant for this paper. All right, and again, not to say that it's unimportant, but one of the things that we have to keep in mind as we move forward, especially when you guys get to English 1510 and English 1520, just kind of doing what you're being asked to do. Okay. Doing what you're being asked to do. Okay. So whatever's in your thesis statement, that's what you're committed to for that paper, right? So if this is your thesis statement, this is all you have to talk about it. Oh, that was a poor choice of colors. All right. Okay, it's getting too fancy. That's what happens. Okay. But yeah, if this is your thesis statement, that's all you have to talk about. Okay. All that other stuff that's interesting, okay, save it for another paper, save it for something else. But we have to take into careful consideration like our job, right? What we're being asked to do. Okay, what we're being asked to do. So look at your thesis statement. Okay. And again, we're going back to checking our work, as we're revising. And the way we check our work, look at your thesis statement, then look at each body paragraph. Is there a clear connection to your thesis statement? Is every body paragraph clearly connected to your thesis statement? Meaning, is every paragraph a discussion in some way of Patricia showing her love to Trevor? Every body paragraph, I should say, because your intro and conclusion can kind of break the rules a little bit. Okay. So that's why your teachers, we harp on thesis statements because they really help keep a paper grounded. All right. For us, as readers, and for you as writers, because you can go back, and look at every paragraph, right? Or you can have someone else look at it. Okay. If you're because it's sometimes difficult to separate, from what you're doing. All right. So I said all that to say avoid many ways. Okay. Man, somebody did this, man. Okay. Don't make announcements in your paper. All right. Don't make announcements. Whatever you say you're gonna do, just do it. Okay. In this paper, I will discuss. After reading this paper, you will learn. Okay. I'm not gonna say never because they're saying like never say never, but it is extremely, extremely rare that you'll write a thesis statement like that, where you kind of tell your reader what you're gonna do. In fact, I'm gonna go on a limb and say never. That you would never write a thesis statement like that, unless you're writing some kind of abstract for a research paper, and that's you wouldn't put that in the paper itself. You would just put that in the abstract. All right. So if your paper is like, I will discuss, this paper will be about, you will learn after reading this paper, we're getting out of that mindset. Okay. Same thing. In my opinion, I believe these phrases should appear nowhere in your paper. Okay. Nobody had a question. That's cool. Another thing is placement. Okay. Um, Placement. Most of the time, and I'm saying most of the time because there's exceptions to every rule, but most of the time, your thesis statement is the final sentence of your introduction. Most of the time. Okay. And like I was saying, that's because your thesis statement, your introduction builds up to your thesis statement. Okay. All right, now. Okay. Maybe you did one of these in your rough draft. Okay. Maybe you had many ways, right? Maybe you said, maybe you made an announcement. Maybe you asked a question, even though nobody did that in this section. Okay, I feel Patricia. Oh, maybe you went, I feel. Okay, maybe you had great woman. Okay. Now that you're going from draft number 1 to draft number 2, look at your thesis statement. Okay. Does your thesis statement need to be revised? Okay. So if we look at this first one, instead of many ways, Patricia showed her love for him by letting him face the consequences of his actions and showing him a better world. Now you've given yourself some kind of barriers that you can't go outside of, or better yet, you've given yourself some ideas. Now I have to talk about, okay, how Patricia let Trevor suffer the consequences and how she showed him a better world. Okay. So when you say many, if you said many ways in your first draft, in your next draft, what are those many ways? Okay. In this paper, I will discuss, just discuss it. Okay, just discuss it. Okay. If your thesis statement is a question in your rough draft, make it an answer in your next draft. All right. I feel Patricia's a great woman. Okay, yeah, like I said, I think she's a great woman too, but that's subjective because great means different things to different people. All right, so we want to avoid words like that. But you can say Patricia's unconditional love for her son protected him from harm and empowered him to rise above his surroundings. Okay, things that you could write about in your paper. All right. This is an intro we've looked at before. All right, so we won't go through the whole thing, but I just want to show you the elements, right? And whatever your introduction looks like, take yourself through that checklist. Okay, the checklist is on, and when I say checklist, I mean just make sure it has the necessary elements. All right, attention grabber, background, title, author, thesis statement. Okay. This one starts with a relatable statement just about a mother's love. And you can see, it starts off general, right? Just a mother's love in general. Okay, we're not talking about Patricia just yet. All right. So the first couple lines are just kind of to get the reader engaged. Okay. And then we get a couple lines in. Now we transition to our discussion of the book. And this is only a few lines. Okay. What does the reader need to know to be part of this discussion that you're about to have in your paper? What do they need to know? It's important. I think it's important to know that she's raising Trevor, a biracial child in apartheid South Africa. Okay. That's important because that is that's why she has to work so hard. Not to say, all parents work hard. Okay. Parenting is a hard job. I know, man. It's expensive too. Okay, they didn't tell me that part. All right. But what does your reader need to know? Definitely, raising a biracial child in apartheid South Africa. Why do they need to know that? Because it was dangerous and against the law. Okay, so they need to know that, but they don't need to know much else. They don't need to know Robert's entire background. Okay, you can just say a Xhosa mother and a Swiss father. Okay, you don't have to go into Robert owning the nightclub and how you don't have to retell the story of how Patricia and Noah, I mean Patricia and Robert actually hooked up. You don't have to tell that story. Okay, it's an interesting story and it was good to read about, but remember for this paper, we're just sticking to what we've been asked to do. All right. But if you do want to bring Robert into this, okay, in the body of your essay, maybe you can discuss how Patricia thought it was important for Trevor to seek out his father. Okay, if you want to bring Robert into it, that's fine, but you don't have to. You can discuss him in that context. Why? Because that has something to do with our prompt for this essay. Okay, like Patricia wanting Trevor to have that connection with his father is a way that she showed her love for him. Okay, now here it is. Patricia often used tough love to discipline Trevor, but her love helped him thrive in a hostile environment. What did I just tell myself as a writer? Okay, I have to discuss how Patricia used tough love to help Trevor thrive. All of the examples in my paper are going to speak to that. All of them. Okay. Get some bullet points going. If you need some additional content, all right, get some bullet points going. Get some scrap paper out. Okay, however you take your notes, get your phone out. Okay, use the notes thing in your phone. All right, but something I said before, like the work you put in when you're brainstorming, you're coming up with those ideas. That's going to give you, those examples that you need, to flesh out the remainder of your essay. All right, and if your essay came up a bit shorter than 3 pages, my advice would be to brainstorm. Okay, flip back in your notes, flip back in your annotations. Right, that's what I do that all the time when I have to come up with reading questions. No. All right, that's a good question though. Okay, no quotes for your thesis statement. Also, don't start or end body paragraphs with quotes. Don't start or end body paragraphs with quotes. Okay. Thursday we'll get more into body paragraphs. I'll talk a little bit about it tonight, but never start or end a body paragraph with a quote, and don't have a quote as your thesis statement. Okay. And what I was saying before, brainstorm, brainstorm. Okay. Look back at your book annotations. Look back at some of the reading questions. Okay. Some of those might be able to lend some assistance if you're having trouble coming up with ideas. But I think all of the examples that we need to do a 4-page essay, they're in our book. Okay, they're in our book. They're in our book and in our minds, of course. Okay. Damn, damn. Okay. Oh, here we go. Yeah, yeah. This is what I was saying. This is the last point. Okay. Last 2 things we'll look at, and this is some of us are in this boat. All right. When it comes to writing, I should say, you see "Don't Fall in Love" up there, but that only pertains to writing. In real life, falling in love is a beautiful thing. All right. Every paragraph, but when it comes to writing, though, remember that every body paragraph in your essay has one function. What's that function? Supporting your thesis statement. Okay. If it does not support your thesis statement, revise the paragraph or get it out of there, or revise your thesis statement, because the thesis isn't set in stone either. All right. And you may have poured your heart and soul into a body paragraph, but when you check it against your thesis statement, it's like, kind of went off topic a little bit here. Okay, I talked a little bit too much about Trevor being raised by all women, or Patricia being super religious. Yes. Okay. All right. That's a good point too. Because titles, just like the rest of our paper, titles go through revision as well. Okay. But before now, this is something you can do before you submit your draft number 2. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to the self-assessment in a minute. But before you submit your draft number 2, check it to the best of your ability. And I don't mean like spell check, even though I want you to do that part too. I mean like check each body paragraph against your thesis statement, and don't let yourself off the hook. Meaning like, oh, this is close enough. No. Okay. No. Make sure there's a clear connection to your thesis statement. Okay. Make sure there's a clear connection to your thesis statement. And that starts with your topic sentence. All right. I've seen topic sentences like this on a lot of papers. Okay, but you guys spell religious a lot better than I just did, so that's a good thing. Okay. Now, if this is the topic sentence of a paragraph, this lets me as a reader know, oh, this paragraph is going to be about Patricia being a very religious woman. Okay. So you don't want to have a topic sentence like this because just like your thesis statement dictates the flow of the paper, your topic sentence dictates the flow of a paragraph. So if this is your topic sentence, you just told your reader, this is what this paragraph is going to be about. We can revise it to say, okay, I'll word that differently if I was to flesh this out, but I'm just using an example for right now. So now, if we're going with the religious aspect, that's cool. But again, make sure you're making that connection to Trevor, okay? Because that's what this paper is about. Patricia showing her love to Trevor. It's not about how religious, Patricia was. So if you have a thesis statement, or excuse me, if you have a topic sentence that's too Patricia centric, if you will, revise that. Make sure each paragraph or each topic sentence has a connection to that thesis statement or has a connection to our bigger idea for this paper, which is, how she shows her love to Trevor. Okay. Got my little toy I was fidgeting with. All right. Okay. So check each body paragraph. Check each topic sentence. Okay. Are you using the pie method? Right? Point, information, explanation. Right? Your point is the topic sentence. Information is your example. Your explanation is your follow-up in your own words. Okay. Your point, topic sentence. That's the main idea. You're telling yourself, hey, this is the idea I have to stick to in this paragraph. And then you're telling the reader, hey, this is what this paragraph is going to be about. Information. All right. Now I have to show an example of Patricia instilling these morals in Trevor. All right. And then after that, got to tie it up. What does it all mean? How is this an example of Patricia showing her love to Trevor? All right. Once you discuss that, new paragraph with a new topic sentence. Okay. Really, I think, I really am not a formula person because I like for writing to be organic, but sometimes these formulas they help. Okay, like point information explanation. It's a great way to build body paragraphs, and that's for any essay. Okay, for any essay, like point information explanation, unless it's like a personal narrative. Other than that, you can't go wrong. With the pie method. Okay, point information explanation. All right, and who doesn't like pie? No, there's always somebody that doesn't like pie. Okay, now, all right, finally, okay, how do you check your thesis statement? Did you answer the question? Meaning, is your thesis statement a response to the writing prompt? Meaning, Patricia's love for Trevor should be somewhere in your thesis statement. Okay. If your thesis statement doesn't address that, or if you do not have a thesis statement, make sure that you have one for your next draft. Because again, if you don't have a thesis statement, that's like kind of floating on a raft in the ocean. Okay, just kind of being carried about by the current in the wind. All right. So that thesis statement is going to be your anchor. Okay. Or, could be a compass, to let you know where you're going. Is it specific enough? Or did I say many ways? Right. And then when you go further, like I was just joking with Joshua about like the word great, but I was kind of serious because in a thesis statement, these words, what does that really mean? Okay, great. All right. The joint on the corner has great pizza. All right. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. Kids, man. Kids. Okay. Kids do what they want. Okay? Kids do what they want. Do what they want. Okay. Mine just got picked up, man. Yeah. Good, successful. Okay. And our the slide is asking us, why is something good? What specifically makes it successful? So if you say, Patricia's parenting style was good because, Trevor became a success, what do you mean? All right. Or if you say she showed her love for Trevor in many ways, what do you mean? Okay. What do you mean? All right. And then I'm going to skip down to this one because, bam. Okay. And I'm just going to keep it a buck right here, right? You got to be doing this one if you want to get out of this class. Okay. Because this is all about organization. Does my essay support my thesis specifically and without wandering? You locked yourself into this idea with your thesis statement, right? Now you have to show how it's true. Okay. And you can't do that if you have paragraphs that don't belong, or if you have sentences within your paragraph that don't belong, or if you're not using concrete examples. All right. If you didn't have any concrete examples in your paper, that certainly needs to be something you need to consider when you revise in your paper. Like, these are specific because I can go to a page and find these. All right. Even though I kind of used just kind of like some word association, I wouldn't put this in my paper, but I would flesh these out with detail. What happened in the shoplifting incident, and or what happened with Fufi. The most important thing when you're discussing these examples in the body of your paper, when you think about detail, what does the reader need to know to understand that this example is what does the reader need to know to understand that this is an example of Patricia showing her love for Trevor? That question should determine the level of detail. All right. The foofy thing or the shoplifting thing or whatever, you don't have to like every little detail. All right. What do they need to know to understand that this is an example of Patricia showing her love for Trevor? Okay. So that's what I mean. Okay. Everything like this essay, it's a bunch of parts coming together to form like one cohesive essay. Okay. One cohesive essay that everything's moving in the same direction, starting with that thesis statement, and then the body paragraph support that. And then if we go outside of the context of the book, say this was my thesis statement, right? I have to show how high tuition leads to slower graduation and frequent dropout. Like I have to explain how that occurs. All right. Same thing with you guys. Okay. Now, all right, let's go back here and then I'll let you guys have at it. Okay. Do you have a thesis statement that indicates your paper's main idea? And now, this asks you, right? If you avoided those pitfalls of an I think, of an announcement. Okay. With that thesis right here. Okay. You can type it in, you can print out, write it in, and scan it. Okay. Which I advise against because that's just ink and, using a printer and a scanner when you don't have to. Okay. You can get rid of these lines if you want to, though, and just start typing your stuff. See how fast I type. Yeah, yeah. You can just delete that, and then these are yes nos. Answer these honestly though. Okay, and this is going to require you to go back into your paper and really, especially since we're working on draft number 2. There's still going to be some polishing that we need to do, but like from a content standpoint, for the most part, Okay, there may be some revisions or some additions you make to your final draft, but for the most part, when you put draft number 2 together, you should have all the content you need. All right. Meaning when you go from draft number 2 to draft number 3, you shouldn't be like, okay, I need like 2 more examples. All right. That should be taken. You should do that work in this draft. All right. When did I say they were due? Thursday? You guys can turn them in Friday, even though it's not a class that we meet. Because I'm not gonna read them till the weekend anyway. So I'll change the date on the assignment folder. But yeah, just get them to me at some point on Friday. All right. Do your body paragraphs begin with topic sentence, identifying the main idea of the paragraph? Again, don't okay, you're welcome. All right. Yeah, don't make sure you start with topic sentences, man. But the feedback looks okay on yeah, still revise. Okay. What revisions do you think you need? All right. Still revise, still revise. Okay. Okay. One more example. Blah, 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 blah. All right. This is an oldie but goodie. This is a topic sentence, right? Trevor's mother Patricia used tough love to protect him. So don't say, Patricia was so strong and blah 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 blah. Now, every topic sentence should have a connection to your thesis statement. So make it about Patricia showing her love for Trevor. Okay. Did you stick with one idea per body paragraph? Don't jam multiple examples into the same paragraph. Okay. Oh yeah. Look at each body paragraph, right? Does every sentence belong? Okay. Did you use clear examples? All right. We're just sticking with quotes and descriptions for this essay. All right. We're not paraphrasing just yet. And then finally, right? Did you avoid summarizing the book? Okay. And that's how you end up with material that doesn't belong because there can be too much summarizing. Okay. When you discuss, you are going to have to give details, of whatever you're discussing. But yes, can we break the paragraphs? Absolutely. Saba, are you saying like, can you have one example that goes into multiple paragraphs? Yep, you can do that. That's fine. Okay. Sometimes there's an extensive example or an example that requires extensive discussion. That's cool. Okay, that's cool. I would just say just make sure and just make sure you do it in like consecutive paragraphs, right? Like don't talk about one thing, something else, and then come back to that original thing. Okay, but no, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. Okay. Oh yeah, remember the formula for quotes too, right? Oops. Remember the formula for quotes, right? Signal phrase, quote. Oops, right? Citation, punctuation. All right. Remember the just the elements of a quote of MLA quoting. Signal phrase that ends in a comma, right? Quote inside the quotation marks, exactly how it is in the book. Um, my good people, okay, and my frequent texters, right, and my social media people know who I'm talking about. Make sure you go back and double check for capitalization and things like that. I know that stuff is easy to overlook, but you got to make that effort to go back and catch those mistakes. That's fine. If it ends in a period, your period still goes outside of your parentheses. Even if this ends in a question mark will still go in here, but this is technically this is the end of the sentence. Oh yeah, no, yeah, switch it up. Okay. I was just using Trevor Wright's as a placeholder. But when you get comfortable, spread your wings with these signal phrases. Okay. And if we look on this common essay strategies document that's on our I think this is week 8 for you guys in that module. Okay. Here's some additional ones, and here's some verbs you can use. All right, in your signal phrase. But yeah, if you find yourself using the same one, switch it up. Okay, spread your wings. Worst case scenario, you submit it and I'll say, hey, let's word this a bit differently. That's fine. It's happened before. All right. And to be honest, that's not going to hold anybody back in this class. We just want to see that um whether you're doing it with all these elements, or whether you're quoting with all these elements, or you're quoting but it needs some work. That's fine. We just want to see that skill starting to emerge. All right. And it's something that you're going to keep practicing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Saba. And this is what we have here, like a partial sentence quotation, right? While being interrogated about his friend Teddy, Trevor was surrounded by, quote, silent, stone-faced white figures. So if you want to use a word that's from the text, mid-sentence, um, put that word in quotation marks, but the citation would still come at the end of the sentence. All right. Don't put your citation like right after the quoted material. If you're only using a partial quote, always put the citation at the end of the sentence. Okay. And try your best, man. We're still learning this stuff. I get it. Okay. Most of the skills you pick up in writing come from two sources, man. 3 sources. Okay, practice. Okay, repetition. Which kind of same thing in practice, and then reading. I always say reading is your best writing teacher. Okay. And Raquel, I have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Okay. I only have morning class. Don't worry about your works cited page for draft number 2. Okay. I'll show you how to cheat and do one. All right. Show you how to use tech. It's not really cheating. I'll show you how to use technology. Okay. Then conclusion, right? Now, I know our like the draft we just submitted was only to be 3 pages. So sometimes some of you ended on a body paragraph, which was okay for this draft, for draft number 1. But for draft number 2, make sure you have a conclusion. Okay, a conclusion that provides closure. Okay, and remember, don't turn your conclusion into a book review. Meaning, don't say that you enjoyed the book or did not enjoy the book. All right, or don't say how much you learned from the book or how much you didn't learn from the book, or just say that your English 1060 teacher made you read the book. None of that should be in your conclusion. Again, you can go back, you can go full circle, meaning back to your intro and end with a reflection on a mother's love. Okay, that's fine. All right, just give them some closure though. Don't leave them expecting more. Don't leave them look like, well, where's page 5? All right, now, okay, we want to start this on draft number 2, but we're doing this to the best of our ability, right? Proofreading. Okay, second person point of view. You are. We're getting it out of there. We're getting it out of there. Why? Because we're getting ready for English 1510, where that word is off limits. Okay, same thing with first person point of view for this essay. I, me, we, us, our, my. Okay, these are words we're not using unless they're in quotation marks. Okay, how long have you spent working on this thing? How long have you just been revising? Right? And it was interesting reading this question from your instructor chosen essays. Some were, I spent, a couple 4-hour blocks. Some were, I spent, a little bit of time every day, whatever. But do you think it was enough time? Or maybe too much time? Like maybe you sat at your computer overthinking it for a couple hours. Okay. Now, this is what I mean by ownership. I'm going to give you feedback. If you go to a tutor, they're going to give you feedback. If you submit your paper to NetTutor, they're going to give you feedback. But this question is about you. Discuss the aspects of this essay you think you need to improve upon for your next draft. Don't just look at, whatever there's a comment next to. What do you think needs to be better? Okay. What do you think could be different? And don't just say formatting, because that's an easy fix. What about the content? Okay. What about the organization? All right. What about the development? Okay, that's what I mean by that question. All right. And this, is found in the common essay folder, and you can upload it right back to the folder when you're done. All right. Let me change this date. When did I say this was due? Wednesday? Tomorrow? Okay, here it is. Edit. All right. Yeah, Friday. We'll go Friday. Hey, man, feeling generous. Let's go Friday, 11:59, man. Okay. Take up all your Friday night. No. No, Saturday, come on, man. It's like I want to start reading them Saturday, man. Saturday. Like if I do it in shifts, Yeah, Saturday. Saturday, everybody heard Saturday. I need to get your ears checked. All right, man. You know what? This class is a democracy. Saturday at noon, that's the cutoff. Saturday at noon is the cutoff, man. Don't ever say Professor Norwood doesn't listen to reason. Yeah. Oops. Oops. I'll change it when we end this session. I don't feel like going back in there. Saturday at noon, though, folks, because I gotta get busy reading those things, and then I got another section coming in too. So, yeah. Okay. Now, don't come at me with that that Professor Norwood, you know what happened? You know what happened? Let me tell you something, man. This is how I'll let you guys go after this.